how to draft, right? This is for competitive only. You can use small elements of this in solo queue, but largely this is for organized teams. There's still a lot of mistakes that go on. So there's a few things that I want to go into. Some of them have nothing to do with ebb and flow of metagames. It's just mechanics of drafting. For example, if you know that you can get a pick later in the draft, you don't need to take it early. If you know what your pick is, there is nothing benefited by taking it early. There's I should say, by hovering it early, you gain nothing. If you think longer and you know what you're going to do, it's just allowing them to think longer. So unless you're planning to do some mind games, which comes to like the next levels of things, you just don't need to do it. If you know that you're going to pick Kaisa Rel on R1, R2, then you should just do it, and you do it immediately to send it back to them, right? And that way they think on their time, you can think on their time, and hopefully most of the, at least first half of the draft can be scripted based on the metagames and expectations. So getting to that scripted part, the role of an analyst on a team, the way I've envisioned it, the way that I believe it, you have two positions that help you prepare for drafts. You have your players and your coaches that are going to give you an idea of how strong champions are, and they may put together this list right here. Now you may have an analyst finding like, hey, look, this build is winning at X percentage, but I think that should be more the role of a coach. A coach should be looking around the world to see if there's a build that's popping up somewhere. Instead, you should have the coaches and the players coming together to give a relative value to each champion, okay? And what you want to do is from 0.7 to 1, give every champion a score. Now, in the case of something being broken, as we saw from Caps with Nico, that he completely changed the game with his Nico play, you can go as high as a 1.1. The idea is that you're going to try to create a score from your draft, and we're going to have little multipliers that will show us how much we anticipate how much of an expected win value we can get coming out of a draft. Now, there's other considerations. It's not just about get the high score possible, because there's other factors that can go like this composition counters that composition, or this champion counters that one. And so you're going to have to build in multipliers in there. But to start, you're going to have this raw score, okay? Just where do you think the champion is, all right? And so Ivern being, I think, is the most powerful champion on the patch. Nico was broken, though. There's a couple things that you can do that completely change the game, so it's Nico or bust in a lot of situations, so you can go here. But your normal high score is going to be 99.9%, all right? Basically, how much do we think we can get out of our position if we pick this champion? If we think we can get everything, then this is your score, all right? And we have different ranks for different champs as you go. This is all going to be based on 1321, the world's meta. As you go and you build your tier list, right, and you kind of throw things here, you're starting to give these values, basically things that are out of meta, that are less strong than they could be, can get as low as like a 0.8. And the reason that you're going to need decimals here, this is for the statisticians, you don't want to have too much of a spread, and you do want to have enough decimal places so that you can create good visuals for what's going on in the champions. Now, this is a pretty big spread, right? 1.1 to 0.8 is very, very large, and you would never want to have a 0.8 in any situation where you could avoid it. Sometimes you have to based on bans. But this is the sort of like unplayable champion that doesn't even make it onto a tier list. Whereas this is like the bottom champions that have been nerfed enough that you could play them in a pinch, but you're basically not going any lower. So each champion gets a score, and I gave you some samples right here. And note stipulations could be something like with Rumble must have lockdown. All right, if you draft a Rumble, you must therefore go for lockdown champions afterwards. Otherwise, this value might drop, and you might even put a cell that gives them a negative multiplier, right? Something that brings this back down. It's, for example, if you're playing Yasuo needs to have knockups. He needs to have enablers. Otherwise, he's not that good of a champion. Even if he hard counters the enemy Twisted Fate, you can't just pick Red 5 Yasuo. unless you also have knockups. And if you have knockups, it enables the champion. It allows them to play that the way they should. LS suggests that Karthus is very good, but only if you have 3 ADs. You need to have 3 AD champions to make sure that it's not equitable for them to buy MR. Therefore, you get the full power of Karthus. So it's things like this. After you give your scores, all right, then you're going to give synergy scores. All right, you're going to have every other champion and basically give extra values if there's a notable synergy. So, for example, Alistar can definitely set up Jhin, and your Jhin Alistar score can have a little bit of a multiplier. Jarvan with Orianna, very simple synergy. Azir with Jarvan, also very strong because it gets the extra attack speed, plus the ability to set people up where you can bump them and then Jarvan can scoop them up afterwards. Or Jarvan can Cataclysm, and when they flash out, Azir can go and scoop them back in, or you can shape team fights around. So those sorts of synergies, on top of other ones like Renata and Kalista, both having on-hit auto attacks that feed off of and require your teammate to attack. So when they both have it, you know that both people want to do it and they'll do it together. Xayah Rakan, another obvious synergy. Then you go and you create your database of the world. Now, this is the job of the advanced scout, all right? So you have scouts that are looking at all the players around the world, how they're performing, and they're basically constantly updating this list based on a weighted system for recency, all right? You're going to bias based on recent patches, right? Did they perform well on Aatrox always? Do they perform well on Aatrox when it's in meta, but they don't play it when it's out of meta? Sort of thing. You want to have grades that go along about a year and a half back where you're getting full value for the current patch. You're getting like 90% value based on what happened for the previous 6 months and 80% value the 6 months before that, and half value the same way that they do it in tennis rankings, where you get full value for your year score, plus you actually get some residual for last year, so that way you don't just randomly bump out of the top 10 just because you get injured. You're going to go through and give scores to different players on these champions, as high as 1. All right, 1 being they get every last drip out of this champion. All right, so BLG Bin on Jax is a good example. This is a 1.000. Just I expect them to get every last bit out of Jax. Sometimes some people innovate and they break the mold. They change the way the game is played. And that's what happened with Caps on Nico. And basically after he played it, it got permabanned. It was not permabanned before that. It actually hit a streak of so many bans in a row that it made it into, I believe, most banned champion at Worlds, even though it was nowhere close to start. He just bamboozled Yahoo to the point where, as that game was continuing, you could see moments where it's like Nico's vulnerable right now, but the enemy team's like, I don't know, like there's some tricks, because he did the cannon trick. He swapped into 4 different characters in and out of lanes, coming out of bushes. He was pretending to be on a Nautilus roam timer and coming back. He was making the game so damned complicated for the enemy team that it was like Nocturne Paranoia was just on all the time. He was misinforming all the time. And based on that, his team got away with situations where they should have been punished, but it was constantly like, no, I don't know. I don't know if that's the real Nico. Like, I don't know if that's Xayah or if it's Nico, or just like, let's just do something standard. Let's go to the other side of the map. When someone plays a champion to that level, then you give it the 1.1. Then you expect other people to catch up. So in about 2 weeks' time, you can expect these pros to get 50 games in on that champion, meaningful practice, trying to push the boundaries. They're going to watch that clip of Caps play, and they're going to watch every single movement he does and emulate and copy. And maybe as soon as 4 days later, they might have it ready, although they probably didn't have it ready and scrimmaged and prepared for a draft. So sometimes you don't need to react within the first week, but by the second week, you should expect pros around the world to be able to emulate what Caps is doing, at least to come close, right? He changes the rules of the game. That's why we have to go over and give Nico that 1.1 over here, because suddenly, like, her new ceiling is just here. We thought it was here, now it's here. She was already playable here, and now she's doing all these other things, and you have to react. What ends up happening is you end up with this formulaic table, right? It's going to give you all of these values. It's important to have your own team and your opposing team. And as you go through, you're going to look for gaps. All right, you're going to try to find out where the gaps are and which champions you have much more effect with than they do. Those are definitely ones that you don't need to ban, that you can expect to pick, and you might have opportunities to play those. And that's something that happened in game 1 of the World Finals, and it kind of drove us nuts that it was allowed. We went through in the pregame. If you guys were watching live, then you know. If you weren't, make sure you sub and stay tuned, because we're always there trying to talk about as many of these permutations as possible. But this pick right here ruined the game. You could argue that Yone put the team on his back. There's a very good video by Chippy's, former top laner. He's a pro coach. You should absolutely watch it. It's how Yone broke down the game. So, check that video out. I'll put a link in the description below. But when you're playing and you go through this draft, Azir Orianna is meh. It's like there's enough mid laners that are close together that you don't necessarily need to take away one or take away the other. By banning Azir, you basically necessitated that they ban Orianna. You could have gone for this Yone pick, or specifically, don't pick Aatrox yet, because Yone is Zeus's favorite counter into Aatrox. He annihilated other Aatroxes, and we already saw that the Shy, in I believe 4 out of 6 opportunities to pick blind, picked Aatrox. So this became a very, very foreseeable system, and we spent the majority of the pregame talking about this, that Weibo needs to find a way to get out of this situation. And they might even want to pick red side to do it, to make sure that the Shy gets counterpick. What ends up happening, they blind pick Aatrox, Zeus takes Yone and counters, and steamrolls the game. Wins alone, fumbles twice, still has such a huge advantage that even with extra pressure up in the top lane, completely claps the Aatrox. Aatrox was a complete non-factor in the team fights. He didn't do anything. It was not pretty. And what did they do to get it? They got Maokai Jace, which, yes, this is a great synergy. This is one of those champions where you might pick a 1.1 together, where you're saying, okay, Jace really wants someone to lock them down. You've got physical damage and magical, so they they work together very well. They also both siege. They both also disengage. They both have a knockback, and Maokai has the ability to press forward. So you actually kind of check a lot of boxes for what you might want from a team comp in Maokai Jace. This combination was extremely prevalent in China and on Cloud9, right? They used a lot of this. Blabber, I believe, was like 12-0 at one point on Maokai. Some of those were paired with Jace's. There's a lot of reasons to do it, but the champions did get nerfed. I don't think personally that there should have been as high of a priority on Maokai as there was in the tournament. I don't think he had a very good record. A lot of it had to do that he was picked blue 1. And by using that blue 1 pick, you're basically saying this is the entirety of our advantage in the draft lies in this pick. Because all the rules that red team have to follow, they have rules. Like red team has rules, blue team doesn't have so many rules. If there is 1 or 5 OP champions left after draft, blue team runs away with it, okay? It's not close. You take 1, I take 1 and a counter pick. You take 2, I take the other. All right. 3-2 in OPs. We are just significantly higher than you based on the scores that we've given the champions. Or you take 1, we take 2, you take 2, we get a counter pick. And that's it. The value of the counter pick needs to outweigh those OPs, or it's not going to do anything. Most commonly, early in the draft, we saw Xayah. It shouldn't have been Xayah. It should have been Rakan, because Rakan has more good pairings than Xayah does. But Xayah has some disengage qualities that can be attractive for certain compositions, especially if you're going to go with poke comps, for example. But in this draft, Xayah Rakan was actually available, right? We actually could have seen Xayah Rakan right off the bat. But because we saw Maokai, they end up with the strongest bot lane, Kalista Renata. It gets answered with Jace Aatrox, and this is where I think it should have been answered with Xayah Rakan, right? You go Xayah Rakan, Then you ask them, what are you willing to take? Are you going to take a jungler so we don't pinch the jungle pool? Are you going to blind pick a laner and then figure out where to put it later, whether or not it's going to be flexed to other lanes? That's something red team can do, but at least you're answering Xayah Rakan. And then in the bans, they're probably still going to have to ban Jace. They might have to ban Aatrox, because if they don't, and you ban Aatrox, and you ban Yone, then that might force them in an uncomfortable position where they might want to first pick Aatrox, for example, or they might go Renekton and say, I dare you to try to come up with a good answer. I think it would have given them a lot more options going into the draft. Some people will posit that game 1 of a best of 5 is a good time to limit test and see, like, can I actually beat this champion? I don't think it's worth the L. It really is not, because when you're talking about these scores, right? And let's say Caps' Nico is 1.1 and Bin's Jax is 1.0. Are you really willing to risk a game just to find out if you can play against it? It takes like an exceptional amount of hubris to believe that. You're saying that there's something that I've figured out. It can't just be let's find out. It needs to be there's something I have figured out about the way that guy plays that no one else is exploiting that I can exploit. And if that comes up, great. You can do it, and then you can say, let me try my answer. But it can't just be, no, I think I can do it. No Yone has ever beaten me on my Aatrox, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. You have to know that you have to know exactly what you are doing differently than other champions. As we got into game 2, then we found another foul. All right, so this game we saw a Sylas ban. Sylas ban is something that you basically need to do if you want to grab Maokai, because the multiplier that the enemy team gets for picking Sylas after you get Maokai is huge, right? And you can get general ideas from these. You can go into a site like Lolalytics and you go to this normalized synergy data and you can see like what champions are good with each other. This is Maokai jungle. Looks good with assassins, makes a lot of sense. Tristana mid makes a ton of sense. I've got long range engage, she can jump in, mixed damage types, everything about it says Maokai Tristana should be a fantastic combination, right? As you go through, you can start changing this data and you want to practice it on your own. Scrims you can take some value from, but again, most teams should not be scrimming. They should have their second 5 and they should be mixing and matching, and they should be playing 5v5s, and they should do things like mid and top lane go and swap teams, and then like let's battle, or bot lane swap teams, let's battle, and try to even the playing field. Sort of like put Michael Jordan with the 4 bench players and put Scott Burrell in with the starters for the Bulls. You play them against each other 5-on-5 and see what happens, and try to gain some information about how your starting team should play against a superstar, for example. But one of those fouls, just a hard line. If you plan on playing Maokai, you should definitely ban Sylas. Faker's been playing tons of Sylas in the tournament, much more comfortable on these melee assassin types. This is how he came up. He got famous on Zed, so let's not assume for a minute that he can't play Akali Sylas types anymore, and we saw all of them. So you ban Sylas, you pick Maokai. Great. This time around, again, Xayah Rakan is left open, but this time, blue 3, they start with Kalista, and that says, okay, this necessitates a Renata ban, or a Renata take, but now we're going to take not only a good Renata pairing, but a pairing that counters Kalista. So now we've got, out of this draft, congratulations, you've picked Kalista, we've counterpicked you completely, and picked for a comparison or for a companion with Renata that's very, very strong. Then they picked Senna. Like, I don't get any world where you don't want Senna into Draven ever. Like, that's one of those ones where you're like, yank it down a level. Absolutely don't want Senna. Not only that, but then they pick Maokai. Notice that there's no Sylas ban. Immediately picked up Sylas blind here. They go ahead and they ban champions that would be good in front to back and poke. which will give Sylas the most space in the fights. This time we see an answer going further into the draft. We say, all right, ban Cassante, we ban Yone. This time, okay, we'll take Nocturne Blind. We'll take Aatrox Ahri. We still think that Aatrox is him. We think the Shy is him. It's, we got rid of Yone. That must have been the one thing that could stop us. No, it turns out Gwen crushes Aatrox as well. And you get these wins in the draft with these multipliers, these counter picks, saying like, I can win with such strength in one position that it's going to give me a big lead as we get into team fights. And again, there is literally nothing that Weibo can count as an advantage in this game. This one was a little bit closer. They could say, we could come out of a draft saying that these 5 champions is one of the best 5 rosters you could come up with. The problem is that Kalista Renata get to all in against Tahm Kench, double range against the Frog means I get to poke them down, and then once they're ready, they get to all in. Senna can't withstand that pressure. And Yone hard counter into Aatrox. Like, again, there's no single place where you can say that you got a big advantage. Even Maokai into Lee Sin was not playable because the mid laners all had the push on T1. They all get to push. Therefore, Lee Sin gets to go and dominate Maokai. And we saw that Yone just created a 3-stacked crash, and he hovered into the jungle while Lee Sin invaded Maokai. And you could argue that game was over. Like I would say that the draft made it over, but by 3.5 minutes into the game, it was pretty clear cut who was going to win. All right, so we've learned a couple lessons. As coaches, during these games, as they play out, your job is not to be a fan. Your job is to be a coach. And so that means you're taking notes, you're summarizing, you're planning, you're preparing what you're going to tell your players. So, for example, NRG's coach ThinkCard should have realized that FBI was tilted out of his mind. Not from like traditional tilt, just was at that what's the psych idea, the concept of too much stress, where a little bit of anxiety is good for performance. All right, that much has been proven. Too much can have adverse effects where you start kind of riding the roller coaster, or at times you just have this precipice where you just might boom, like plummet, because you get so wired that your body just like stops functioning well. That's what happened to FBI, at least what it looked like. The cameramen were all over it. As a coach, you need to be prepared to soothe that person or amp them up or amp teammates up, whatever it is you know about your team's dynamic, about who the leaders are and who responds to strength or whatever cues your team needs. That's what you need to be thinking about going into the next game. And as a coach talking about drafts, you should always assume that your team is going to lose if you're at 2-0 or that it's going to win at 0-2. There should be no time spent here. If you're 0-2, you're Weibo Gaming, 0 time spent assuming what if loss. Doesn't do you any good. If you lose, you're out. So there is nothing to think about in this crunch time. Instead, you have to assume that you're going to win. And if you win, you're going to have to figure out, all right, where did our win come from? Because once we go into this win, we're going to have to start thinking about the next game's draft. All right. Sorry, this should be here. You're all ready. Let's undo that. Let's put it here. This is after your game 3 draft. You're going into the waiting room. You're watching with your crew. You've got 10 people in that room. You want to be ready for game 4. Game 4 doesn't do you any good assuming that you might lose or thinking you might lose. So if you come out of this game, you're going to have to figure out, where did the win come from? All right? Okay. We figured out a much better draft. Their draft got better and better and better now that they stopped playing with hubris and started playing with their brains. But again, we found some mistakes. So if you're taking Azir, you're giving Xayah Rakan. Normally when these champions are up, now that more of the bot lane has been pinched and we're not giving away just ridiculous Renata lanes, Renata's banned, you can take Rakan here, not Xayah, okay? You take Rakan because Rakan has more good pairings than Xayah does. If you go Xayah, you might be pinched a little bit, especially with some champions gone, depending on what gets taken on this side as well. And then you can give Azir, and then you can play for your counter, and you can say, all right, we have Azir, or they have Azir, we'll pick a Kali, we're comfortable here. In this case, Azir was taken. Now you're letting enemy team know, okay, I don't need to pick a Kali yet, but I'm gonna pick her in R3. So now I can go for power. I can go Xayah Rakan, which is the strongest thing I can do, picking my strong bot lane together, forcing enemy team to play a third tier bot lane against our top tier. And then we still get counterpick here. So now red team is just winning and winning. All right, they're much stronger bot, they're stronger mid. Okay, well now we're going to make sure that the Poppy gets banned because of the synergy with Azir, much more synergy with Azir than with Akali. Same thing, Cassante, we don't want people controlling the fight and moving people around because it makes Azir's job too easy. We take away those. They take away, well, I don't know why. Wukong, presumably because they didn't want to get bullied in the jungle. And Jace, because Jace is seen as a strong pick against Azir, but Jace is not necessary. Akali is going to be here. If Zeus has an Akali score, then maybe you have to ban Jace. Maybe you don't want to deal with Jace in the top lane with some matchups. And you can play out from there. Well, anyways, what do we have that happens? Okay, well, we've got a winning mid, and we've got a winning bot. What do we want? A winning jungle. So now we can go and play bot side as strong side of the map and go from there. Enemy team says, okay, the reason we banned Wukong was because we wanted Bel'Veth. Lee Sin can fight pretty well against Bel'Veth, not at level 1, but going to be a very strong champion in general. And now we're forced to blind pick again. And this is the one time where I think that T1 maybe could have gotten a little bit more out of the draft, but they pick Aatrox and they say, no, we're fine taking this. I think largely because they're saying, if we do go to game 4, we want you to still think about Aatrox as a point of strength for us, but also specifically Aatrox very hard to whittle down. You can go into this lane and play for a safer approach and then look for windows to manipulate the game so that it favors Aatrox. This is very much like a Viper versus the Mountain sort of lane where Kennen can poke, but if you get hit by a single Q, you're probably going to be in a lot of trouble. And it doesn't even need to get that far. I'm going to show you guys a little clip. Made a little video about it. It's going to be Raptors into blue into Gromp. It's interesting to see what Lee Sin has planned coming from here. Probably just to spin back around and go back to top side and be level 4, off of a leash. So the Kennen wave's pushing in. Aatrox is going to do his best to keep it stuck there from 330 to 350. Okay, so what did we learn? From that position in that game, they got themselves a winning mid, a winning bot, and then they treated their game to create a winning top as well. This is how T1 completely crushed Weibo Gaming from a mental point. You could say that these games ended in the first 5 minutes. It was all about, you still have to execute and you have to, take your game plan, but they got such monumental leads by 5 minutes into every single one of these games. Really by 3 minutes and 50 seconds of every one of these games, they were feeling pretty good about their situation. And you need to do better than that, right? You can prepare for the first 4 waves of the game. You can prepare your strategies. You can use this sort of system for finding where you're going to have powerful iterations on the map, how you're going to maneuver your team, and then you can create a strategy for the early game and then manipulate the game to fit the scope that you want it to go into. Then there's a whole nother battle, but this is just about the first 4 waves of the game and the draft, something that you are basically in complete control over. You can script these things, and I expect teams at Worlds to do better. So anyways, now you guys know. Thanks for the likes, the support. Make sure you subscribe. We're going to be doing more content like this. I'm going to get into some games now. Excuse me for a moment. All right, we're going to end up filling a little bit more this way. But basically, we want to take advantage of Trundle being overbuffed. So we're going to focus everything on this. Resources that you can use. Or you can just set it up as simple as this. Right now, last 30 days, not as important as this one. Trundle's win rate is going to be extremely spiked right now because of the reduction in the mana cost in the Q, which means he's basically going to be able to cast it that many more times in the laning phase. Plus the fact that he has that scaling on the his AD. His AD growth went up by 1. That's huge. So should be something that he should take advantage of a lot of picks. The definitive ban is Jax. That said, Riven, I'm actually going to show you guys Riven real quick. Now, win rate may not spike quite yet because a lot of people are going to want to try to play Riven, and Riven's pretty complicated. So those people are going to bring down the ranking, but the one tricks are going to start going up and up and up and up because these were some serious buffs that she got. So if you're a Riven player, I highly recommend it, but you're going to see the tick going up right now, basically across all levels. But you see right here, like pick rate going up, game counts going up, ban rate is going to spike, especially in high elo, because you want to eliminate the one tricks. So if you're looking for a singular ban, Riven's probably going to be it. Stay away from the people that are good at that champion. That said, you probably only need to do that in Diamond Plus. I was saying that Trundle, as far as picking a build, if you're unsure where to go, use a place like this to start and then ask questions. It's not the be all and end all. You're not going to get all your answers here, but you do want to find out like why. Why is something performing well? All right, Hullbreaker's doing good. Why, what can I expect from Hullbreaker builds? All right, the most popular items are also, no, they're not immediately at the top, but actually they're both top 10. When the most popular items are also the winningest items, that's usually a pretty good sign that that's exactly where you want to be. You know what we'll do? I think Jax is one of our backups right now, so let's just get rid of the Riven. Now, Hullbreaker's still showing up all over the place. The extra gold, local gold, going to taking turrets means that that's going to be a big part of our game plan. You see lethal tempo is taken over from press the attack. So that's something you absolutely want to look at. Triumph seems good, but presence of mind means that you get to stay topped off in mana on the top lane. Attack speed would be completely reasonable, but if tenacity's right, we're clearly going to go there. Last stand gets you the most value, basically at all times. Now these sample sizes are really low right here. So if I go back down to 30 days, maybe I get a better eyeball for the things that are doing well. We're still looking at top lane. Is it still so drastic? Well, unflinching again, right? You're like someone that has to run at someone. You have to run at the enemy team, so that makes a lot of sense. Second wind is always going to be good. Do we actually want Demolish, though? We'll probably base that based on who they pick. You can see that like Flash Ghost is doing all right. Teleport Ignite, I mean, that's a tiny sample size. You can't really use that. Flash Ignite, if it's someone that you're going to have to beat in the side lanes at all times. Flash Teleport going to make the most sense at most times. All right, if we have an Akshan, that's a little bit of a pain in the butt. Almost definitely go into second wind if that's the case. Also, we have lots of slows, lots of tenacity here, so probably going to go like this. Demolish tends to be a win more type of rune. These ones are more likely to go and actually win you the game. I don't mind it in general, but absolutely if we have reasons. Now with this combination, now that we have mostly just damage, Lux mostly just damage, I think we have enough to go here. No, we don't. The unflinching's not going to help us that much in this lane against Akshan, and Akshan's going to be a pain in the butt. I think we can actually find this here. "26 games is not nearly enough, so we have to go back." Traditional counter pick, very mobile champion, can dodge away from me and can use my pillar against me, which is the big thing. So I basically have to not even use my pillar against him unless I have imminent presence from Udyr, and I think that it's going to not give him a way out. That's absolutely going to be one of these types of lanes. And now since we're tryharding, we're probably going to lay off the mic.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. 30 seconds until minions spawn.
So this guy can proxy the first wave like a Chad.
Minions have spawned.
He's doing it. Oh my gosh.
Executed.
What a hilarious play. You don't need to do that. Like, this is cute. The risk versus reward is super low. Like the ratio. Because you could just go there and start smacking the Katarina too. Like, she doesn't have presence against you. It's just 6 free coal stacks. You know, she's just gonna let it all go to turret, you know. It's a little bit of chip damage. That's it. I wanted to try to trick him. I wanted to stay 1 minion away from leveling so that if he did go in, he'd think like, oh, he's not level 2 yet. But we were about to level up. This is coming back to us. This is totally fine. Like in that game with the Kennen Aatrox, I'm going to try to hold this guy in this situation. I don't want to let him get a huge stack off. I don't want it to crash too early either. Cyan ends up dying anyways. Second time we've gotten cheesed by our own teammates a little bit. I'm not seeing the animation. Are you guys seeing that animation for the second hit? I actually don't really want to gank here. Moose nearby, we got a problem. Easy peasy, right? Now, I don't need to teleport here. The wave's coming back. He can't stop this wave from coming back out to me. I'm going to path out towards the jungle, right? Because I want to be coming through this path anyways. Either he creeps up and I'm behind him, or I'm in a better position to help with one of my other champions. Sion looks like he's definitively going for this inting strat, which could be kind of scary for our team.
An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
Yeah. Now, something I could have done actually at early levels is just Q him in the face, get the push that way, get the minions to attack.
An ally has been slain.
No, I missed my click. Something you cannot afford to do on Trundle. You have to chase right behind them. Sometimes when you put that thin and wall behind, if you miss a click, then you will start pathing behind. That's really obnoxious. Oh, he did push it. Okay. All right, mister, you're in trouble here. If I can get a click. Got a tank right here. Now, some people go Tiamat first. I don't like to do that because it makes you lose control of your wave, and that takes away one of the big things that Trundle has going for him, which is the superior 1v1. It's kind of like taking a Tristana and having to perma push in situations where you don't want to. We're just going to keep an eye on this guy. Mumu's gone. See 3 people missing from mid. We're just trying to add to this lead. It's small right now. That's a dead Akshan. With no teleport, we'll push.
Plating will fall soon.
All right, we're feeling pretty good about this one.
An enemy has been slain.
I don't know if they forgot who they're talking about. Is front for me? Right at the edge. We'll light him up. Uh-oh. No. So you have to dodge back into the Katarina. Somehow Udyr didn't get them out. Oh, you know what? All right, we'll have to realize this. She got a lot of Heartsteel stacks off that too. It's a pain in the butt. Udyr did not recognize. Sion's kind of doing his job anyways, but Udyr not recognizing that we're playing for strength here means that I have to adapt to that. Now, this is our big spike, so we want to keep team fighting. We don't want to be afraid of this, but have to just take that into consideration. We have 2 hull breakers. Jeez. Stuffed. Sion's getting that project done the whole time. Doing pretty good about it. Alright, they need a tank, huh? There's a Herald here. And we have teleport, so we're good to just keep doing this. Sion's pushing top, we're good. They're rampaging in mid. That's one way to do it. Just please pause. Taking the aggro. Oh boy. Kaboom.
An enemy has been slain.
Would better be to be doing it without the deaths, you know? I'm doing it down here, by the way. No great reason besides I want to stay off the map. They might have had some amount of lingering wards. The fastest way and the path should be through here most times, especially with these with this map. I'm just trying to hide a little bit more vision for a little bit longer. Maybe we get to catch a misfortune. I think she spotted us here. Yeah, definitely. Costs us a cannon. do it. I'm just teleporting now. No need to wait. I'm back. I'm doing this for the Scion. It's not great. I want my team to continue to go. They should continue pushing here. Let Scion and I go on the side lane. And then we come and pincer over to whichever lane we actually want to go kill. And try to draw people over. Lux is on her way. Misfortune is on her way. Oh, that's the wrong direction. Alright, that's multiple ults. They're good to push, they're good to catch this Katarina. Hopefully they don't die. Xerath is notoriously weak against this champion. Probably just an overplay by me. They don't really have anything left to fight with. Oh, I didn't Babus. He tried to collide with one. You can actually go here and stop both and hit both.
Triple kill. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Oh, good stuff. What's up, Marcus? How you doing? Push to win, push to win, push to win. We might be in a new meta. These changes completely changed the way the game needs to get played. Baus reacts to patch 13.23. Nope. We'll be keeping an eye. We'll be keeping an eye. Actually, speaking of which, this looks like it's done downloading, so let's go to it. We can do better than this.
Learn from your mistakes.
What's up, Sean? How you doing? Which Trundle is best Trundle? Hey, whoops. That probably changed my, no, we're good. Yep, don't mind those. Kind of looks out of place, right? All right, what do we need to do? Probably support, probably jungle, mid and top. That would be a field day for me if it's that guy in the top lane. Non-zero chance it's Tom Kench, and we have Talia in the bot. That would suck. Hey, Shaco support, Talia jungle, another option, right? All flexes. All right, our lethal tempo will crush his grasp, even through Q stun. We're just gonna walk up, grab the push with our Q. get the minion wave pushing for us. We'll be first to 2. We'll have all in threat at level 2, and on every level up spike timer we can go for invade strategies because Udyr is going to clap Talia if he ever finds her in the jungle. So we're gonna try to open that door for him. Pink Dragon Slayer. Oh, is that the chroma? I should be looking for it. Yeah, it probably looks sick. I don't doubt it. We got faux shizzle again.
To Summoner's Rift. 30 seconds until minions spawn.
Alright, Vayne is a huge pain in my ass. I do have an armor rune, which is going to be a little bit of a pain. For the all-in, it is going to help me with the drawing the minion aggro anyways. This is why you almost always want it for lane phase anyways.
Minions have spawned.
I'm going to want to get early Merc Treads most likely. Maybe it's just Wit's End angle. I'm probably just Merc Treads. Grab the minions. Their minions attack me, therefore my minions attack theirs. What? Hey, right at the same time as he flashed. Is he gonna try jumping on me? He missed. Dead. It's not a spell you can screw up. So yeah, spot him in bot, so we're good. This guy's gonna teleport back. My teleport comes up about, well, I guess we'll find out. He's not casting it? He's definitely gonna lose? I don't know what he's thinking. Now I have to let this rebound. Oh, what the? But on the rebound, all these minions dying, plus the ones that are going to come from the next wave, I'm going to be able to hit level 5, and then I can go all in. Look at that, just off of stat growth, guys. Never mind. Those must have had miniature amounts of damage missing that I just didn't see. Alright, so now we've got the level advantage. JK. I can't get this in before the next wave, so I'm just gonna chill for a bit. Yeah. Alright, we'll go shop our advantage. He's going to be stuck just getting back into the game right here. He's going to hit level 6. No big deal, though. Probably could have handled that better. Definitely could have saved my E to just try to knock up the abyssal jump. For a moment, I thought he was going on me, and so I paused going forward. I absolutely just should have gotten him. Didn't think that he would have had time for the ward, based on him just coming back here, but I was wrong. Block. I'm gonna try to trade some of my resources with him before I leave. What? Yikes. That sucks. I'm dead. Okay. I guess I was getting away with that when I played Tom Kench last week, so it is what it is. That sucks so bad for me. Same thing as last game. 0 Fs given, just go for Herald with no prio, you know? I should have pinged my cooldown for this guy. I think we could have done that better for sure. The fact that you got a kill back there is kind of insane, actually. Free. I don't know that you win this. He's holding it? Wow.
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain. Enemy killing spree. An enemy has been slain. Your turret has been destroyed.
That guy changed colors? That skin changes colors? That's sick. Alright, we can't be here. Ezreal's not in the center of the map, so we can't contest anything. That control ward's a complete waste. You're just burning 105 gold. Luckily the Vayne still went static shiv. That item was good for a month. It's not good anymore. No. I don't win this. I tilted.
An ally has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Shaco must be nearby, or Yasuo. Tilia. Makes sense. It's good for us. That's free. This is not how I wanted it. Galio was a complete non-factor there. That's my fault too. Maybe I could have given him a target. Probably had a target early here. I'll take it. I want to get Ezreal out of here. This is why we're going here. Ezreal's already shown that they want to overstay in bot lane, so we want to go to the same lane, push them out, try to get them to go and centralize, so that Rakan can centralize. Galio. Okay. Here's what it is. Bro. Khan should not be in the pit here. Healing the Tom Kench is all I'm doing here. Hey Vayne, you're still here. Just the person I wanted to see. Trap ya? Yeah? Behind her. Good stuff. I mean, we can take this, that's fine. Why did they think it was a good idea to come after this foot pushing Trundle? Talia's not here. We might actually find a fight. Be very random of them to give us one, but they might. I think we actually had one right there. Udyr backed, so that stuffs all of our progress. I'm going to take these camps to make sure Udyr doesn't get distracted. Maybe this will distract him, you know? Galio looks like he's grouping, which is fine. This is something that we want. Careful. It's fine for him to be there. We do prefer that he's split pushing, but I think he's a little bit nervous based on what happened earlier, which is fine, you know, that he's making sure that the same mistake doesn't happen twice. We actually have to slow down this push a little bit. Alright, I see 2 mid. There's Tom Kench. Hey, I didn't know what to hit there. It's fine, you guys can come to me here. Galio, oh, nice flash play. That should be game over. That's all 3 inhibs, we should be okay.
You have slain an enemy. An ally has been slain. Shut down.
To go with them to help them finish it, or to push around the map? I mean, obviously the minions are going to take away the latter option. Careful, Galio. No. Alright, looks like this is how far they want to get the base gone. I'm going to go get in their face right now. Make sure that mid wave is pushed in. It gives them the worst avenue to get out. My team should have the easy dragon. Then we'll be able to escort the minions out. Good wards down. Basically nothing they can really do about this. Stole it.
An enemy has been slain.
Team? Team? Okay, I guess inhibs are going to come back up and they're all going to be filthy rich. I actually could have knocked Tilly off that wall, couldn't I have? Last wave of supers in all 3 lanes. This has got to be it. Gotta not make any mistakes here. I actually want to slow this down just a little bit.
The enemy's inhibitor is respawning soon. Respawning soon. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
I just walked back into it. Ooh, awful pathing. At least we got them all dead again. Vayne's dead. This guy's ult is down. This guy's ult is down. Not the best. Not the best.
An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
to stop taking these turret shots. Maybe I just cycle back to the team now. Yeah, I think that's the plan. Oh, careful. Don't die there. Grouping with Hullbreaker.
Team has destroyed a turret.
Come on. She deals so much damage. Hard piece. Maybe it was right to get out. Maybe it was right to just F him. Uh-oh. There's a long respawn timers here. If Talia steals this, we lose.
The enemy's inhibitor is respawning soon. The enemy's inhibitor is respawning soon. The enemy's inhibitor is respawning soon.
Numbnut. Whoa, I melted. And no one's hitting Vayne that entire time. That's really bad. I think we just lose this.
Shut down. Enemy triple kill.
I'll have to look at that again. I ended up ulting Yasuo, which is not worth, not nearly. Although, you know, this guy deals a tremendous amount of damage too, but it's not Vayne, right? Vayne's a very tough matchup for Trundle.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Maybe I should just go Gargoyle Stoneplate or Frozen Heart. It's just enough time. Jesus. That was tough. Trick 2G came through for us. All right, that's going to be it for me today. 2-0 on this round. We finally climbed back a little bit. I can feel myself wound up. Like, my heart rate is up here, right? So even within the game, trying to take those deep breaths, taking box breaths every time that we go for a recall. You may have heard me go, it feels like a sigh, but it's really just a deliberate deep breath. Those things are meant to cool me down. Even, that game gets amped up. It gets amped up. You're 40 minutes in, it starts building up. The cortisol starts building up. Your fight or flight's been going on kind of crazy for a while, especially if you feel like you've been playing well and you've been at that edge. Then eventually you need that moment where you just bring it back down. You got to come back down to earth. So anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate the support. Thanks for the thumbs up. I will catch you guys next time. Keep it surreal. Peace.